Recording.
Hello and welcome to Taking It to the Next Level, a Minnesota Collegiate DECA podcast where we will discuss the world of DECA and talk to professionals about what makes someone successful in today's world. I am the president of Minnesota Collegiate DECA, Zach Spohn. On today's show, I am joined by the executive director of Minnesota Collegiate DECA, Jennifer Shouse-Klassen. We will be discussing the State Career Development Conference that Minnesota Collegiate DECA will be holding virtually for the very first time next month. The conference will be held via YouTube and Zoom February 16th to the 22nd and will include an opening ceremony, competitive events, professional development workshops, and an awards session. Jenny, thanks for joining me. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you, Zach?
I'm good. Back in school and everything after winter break. So that's fun, I guess. But yeah, I'm good.
Getting started for the year after a long break is always hard. So
yeah, it's an adjustment, right? It's like I had all this, or maybe not all this free time, but I had more free time, and now it's like, well, I have to do school every single day again.
I can appreciate that. It's I think for everyone, whether you have a week-long break over the Christmas holiday or whether it's a couple of weeks off from school, it's sort of difficult to get back into the grind, and that's tough. So that I think that's a pretty universal thing, I think. So that's true.
Yeah. So, and right, it always feels like right when you get back from winter break, you return to school, it's kind of time to go and you're on that home stretch headed towards the state conference in February. So let's talk about that today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, or longer than that, I guess, probably about a month ago, the Minnesota Collegiate DECA announced that we will be holding this state conference virtually this year. That's unfortunate in some sense, because obviously we'd all rather be in person, but the good thing is that we're getting pretty good at the virtual thing. This will be our third virtual conference of the year now, so that's something, I guess. And as always, we're going to try and make the best of it, because that's what we do.
Absolutely. Well, and the thing is, like you said, it's not what we were hoping for. I think everyone, it's a pretty universal thing that everybody would love to be able to be in person, and everybody would love to actually make those connections that we're used to being able to make during our conferences. And unfortunately, due to circumstances that are really outside of our control in terms of our venue not being able to host the number of people we would typically have, and just the added expense that it would be not only for our student members, but also just for the organization to be able to host this in a safe way, made it so that our best option was really to be able to offer this virtually, so that there's still the opportunity to compete, there's still the opportunity to connect with each other, albeit it'll be through a screen, which I know has been kind of the story of our lives for a year. We're getting good at it, but it also means that when we're able to come back and do this in next year, I think, maybe I'm just looking for the silver lining, but I really think we'll be thankful, and it'll make it all that much sweeter when we're able to do things in person again. But we really have a great lineup. I think there was a lot of thought put into this, and we waited as long as we could to kind of make the decision before we knew that this was the best way that we could offer a safe and productive conference for our members. So we still have all the elements we would normally have. It'll just be done a little bit differently.
Yeah, so I said it at the outset a little bit, but just so everyone knows, the conference will be held February the 16th through the 22nd. That following Monday will wrap things up after starting on a Tuesday.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so let's roll into it. So every single day of the conference, or every single day that there's events in the conference, there is an event on Saturday and Sunday, obviously, but the day will start out with a daily briefing. Do you want to just quickly touch on what that involves, Jenny?
Absolutely. So every morning at 8 a.m., in order to be able to keep our participants informed, we will release a pretty quick, about 5-minute video on our YouTube channel that'll kind of give the day's events for that day, what to look out for, what to anything you might need to know, any announcements that might need to be made, that the whole conference will need to know. So that will go live at 8 a.m. each morning of the conference. And as you mentioned, it starts on Tuesday, February 16th. And part of the reason for that is that Monday is President's Day. And so we wanted to give everybody the opportunity to have President's Day as a day of rest if necessary, or work, because that's also a real life thing. And then we will go for that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday with conference activities. We will take a break over the weekend and then finish up all of our activities on that Monday, the 22nd.
Right on. So that Tuesday, the 16th, like we have said, is the first day of the conference. It begins with an opening session that will be released to all of the conference participants via YouTube at 10 a.m. Do members have to watch that right when it goes live, or will they be able to just watch that at their leisure throughout the day?
The great thing about that is that they have that option. Once it is released at 10 a.m., it is free to be watched on demand. So we know that a lot of our members' schedules have changed significantly because of work and school as it's affected by the pandemic, and we want to make it as accessible to as many people as possible. So it will be released at 10 a.m., and that particular session, just like it normally would if we were in person, will have, a welcome from the officer. We will award the Student Service Awards and Advisor of the Year Awards. So definitely, if you have an advisor that you want to shout out, go to our website, mncollegiatedeca.org, and find out how to nominate your advisor. All of the information is on there in our awards and recognitions tab, and definitely get that in by February 1st, because we want to recognize our advisors. They, like all of our student members, have done a ton of punting, basically, trying to figure out how to make this year work well for everybody. So like I said, we're going to award the awards we typically do, our advisor and our alumni awards, and then we will have our keynote speaker. And this year's keynote will be John Stagman. John is from Pantheon Computers, based out of the Mankato area, and he has a really great story about how he took a really small business that was kind of built with him and a partner, and grew it into something that's much larger. And at one point, there, had to make a decision about what they wanted this business to be and how they were going to make it happen in a real way. So I think that we're really excited to have John. I just spoke with him the other day, and I think he's really excited. He loves the interaction with students, and with just when he talks to people, he loves that part of it. So he's excited for that part too.
Yeah, the officer team met John actually at our officer training, and that was, that was 6 months ago already. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he was very interesting. His time that he spent with us was captivating, and I think that a lot of other students will. I'm happy a lot of other students will get to experience that with him during our opening session that first day of the conference.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then so there is no competitive events that begin on Tuesday, the first day of the conference. However, we have a workshop, Meet the Candidates Zoom, and a trivia game. So we'll run through those quick. At 1 p.m. the first day, Meet the Pros workshop. What's that all about?
So the Meet the Pros, this is a workshop we've done for I think this might be the third year that we've done this now. And this was an idea that actually came from our alumni. And it's an opportunity for you as a student competitive member to connect with alumni and people who also judge. They're industry experts. They're working in the industry now. They all now serve as judges, and they were alumni that competed very successfully, especially at the international level. And so this is a panel of 3 to 4 alumni that will join us and talk about their experiences. It will be live, so you can interact and network with them. They have the opportunity to ask questions, and it's really just an opportunity to ask, hey, what do I need to do? Prepare yourself best for competition, and what are the tips and tricks that each of these alumni and panel members have for your best success in competition. And we wanted to do that the day before competition, so you have the benefit of that knowledge before you go into it. So yeah, I know that our panel members, I believe this, I don't have the list directly in front of me, though I should, but I believe it's Jacob Ward, which he was part of our emerging leaders. He was also a keynote for us at an innovation summit. He's one of our board members as well. And we will have James Elvidge, who's an advisor, but also was a student and state officer. And then I believe we are going to have hopefully Amber Repke, who a couple of years ago, you may, if you've been around a little bit, you may know Amber won professional sales at ICDC 2 years ago, I believe. So a good panel of individuals who really have an idea of what it takes to succeed in the competitive aspect.
Awesome. That sounds great. And that will be held via Zoom, as
Yes.
will the following event, which is the Meet the Candidates Forum for our candidates for state officer for next term, I guess. If you are interested in running for state office, our last podcast with Amy and I, we discussed our experience at state office, and we talked about the process for applying for state office and everything like that a little bit. So if you're interested in that, check it out. I really encourage you to run for state office if you're thinking about it. It's a great experience, and I believe that to be true in a pandemic, and I'm sure that would also be true in not in a pandemic, and hopefully that's the state officer's experience next year. If you are running for state office, those applications are due February 1st, right, Jenny?
Correct. Yes, correct. Yes, and so, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, so that if you are running for state office, obviously you go to the Meet the Candidates Forum at 3 o'clock on the first day of the conference. Do you want to talk about how voting delegates are strongly encouraged to go to that session if they possibly can within their schedule, and it's also open to the rest of the conference as well, so you get that experience and exposure to the leaders of the organization next year?
Absolutely. So the Meet the Candidate session will, as you said, be at 3 p.m. that afternoon. And that is an opportunity for not only our voting delegates, but the conference at large to be able to interact with and get to know the candidates that are running for office. This is really a unique opportunity and something we would have offered in person beginning this year. So this is just the best way to do it virtually, that each of the candidates will sort of give us their platform, tell us who they are, and then it'll be an opportunity to network, ask questions, get to know them as people. It will be moderated to make sure that there isn't sort of any not positive interaction in that particular thing. Not that I think that would be, because we have awesome members, but we just want to make sure. But it will also be recorded and then posted to our YouTube channel, and that will be the same actually with all of our workshops. So all of these things that we talked about, the opening session being made a link on YouTube so that it can be watched on demand. We will record our Meet the Pros and other workshops and the Meet the Candidate session, and once those have been recorded and processed, they'll be uploaded as links to YouTube as well, so that those can be watched on demand. So even if your schedule doesn't allow you to attend it live, you still have the benefit of the information and still get to participate in that way.
Awesome. And then our voting delegates are obviously voting virtually, and then the winners, I guess, or our candidates for the next officer year, or the new officers, will be announced obviously in the final award session on Monday night when that gets released. Absolutely. But we're not till Monday night yet. We're still on the first day. That first Tuesday night there is a trivia game. What's that all about, Jenny?
Yeah, so the trivia game, we wanted, so we know that part of the conference experience is actually also being able to interact with members from across the state that you don't get to don't get to see it all the time when you're on campus. And though we can't do that in the same way that we normally would, we wanted to give an opportunity to do that in a fun way. So we are going to be doing a trivia game that evening at, I think it's 7 o'clock, right?
Correct.
And it'll just be an hour of fun trivia, DECA trivia that members can interact, and just something to do that's together, I guess. And not a mandatory thing, but definitely something I encourage people to participate in.
Awesome. That sounds great. And then the following day, Wednesday, the 17th, that's when kind of the capstone or the part that most members participate in, competition kicks off. So Jenny, why don't you explain what the logistics kind of are going to be like for competition in our virtual competition environment, I guess?
Absolutely. Thank you, Zach. It does look a little bit different, but we are also, again, all of these decisions are being made with an effort to make it the most accessible for the most people. We know, like I said, that schedules are different, that demands are different on your time, and we want to make it as easy as possible to participate in things like this because, one, we know that they're fun. We also know that they're important, that our DECA members do get a benefit from having participated in DECA, and we want to make that available to all of our current members, even if it's in a different way. So like you said before, we'll start our day with a daily briefing that's going to be on YouTube. That'll just kind of outline what's up or coming for the day, what things you might need to know, any announcements that need to be made. And then competition will start at 8:30 that morning. And we'll kind of run competition the same way for the next 3 days. What will happen is we're going to have 2 competition sessions each day. There will be a morning session and an afternoon session. We have specific events that will be run during those sessions. So we will let each of our competing members know when their sessions are the week before. So for example, if you're going to be competing in marketing management, we will let you know that you will be, your competition time will be somewhere between 8:30 and noon on Wednesday morning, and then you'll get a specific time in an email so you'll know when to show up. It'll all be done via Zoom. It'll be live judging. You'll come in to it at your time. We suggest that you come in about 5 minutes early so we can make sure that you're there and ready to go. You'll come into the waiting room. We'll admit you one at a time to present to your judge, and then once you are done, you can leave the room and kind of go on your way for your day. And all of that will be done via Zoom. Your actual role play or case study will be sent out to you 24 hours or the day before, so that everybody should have about the same amount of time to kind of put together their response or their solution to whatever your case study has to offer for you. And that is a little different than we normally do. Normally you have a very specific amount of time, and you have a very specific time when you have to check in for your case study. We're going to make it so that everybody kind of has about the same amount of time. And by giving you that long period of time, it makes it so that you don't have to switch between prep rooms and presentation rooms, if that kind of makes sense. Yeah. So yeah, so that's kind of how competition will work. Like I said, you'll get your case studies if the case study is involved in your event the week or the day before your event is supposed to run. And then you'll also be given a time in which you're supposed to compete. That'll be sent in an email to you, hopefully the week before you're supposed to compete. And then you will come into it. We'll admit you into the room with your judge, you'll present, and then you can kind of go about your day.
Right on. So then that's how event competition will work Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And the first or those 3 days kind of in the middle of the conference. And so that's what's happening those 3 days for the most part. That's the bulk of the conference. And it is spread out a little bit. One, because We know that students' schedules are different and they've changed a lot in the pandemic. And also just logistically, it's a lot to do over a Zoom call, and it's much more difficult logistically virtual rather than in person.
But we want to make sure that each student member has the ability to compete in a positive way. And so by spreading it out, it makes it easier for us on the association side to administer that, which part of the reason that's easier is that we don't have, rather than trying to possibly respond to 150 to 250 requests for competition questions, where it's only maybe 50 to 60 requests, if sure. Does that kind of make sense? So it makes sure that we can actually, if you're having a problem logging into the Zoom call, which hopefully that doesn't happen, but if you do, but we can address that quickly so it's not an issue for you.
Awesome. Okay, that sounds great. So that's event competition that's happening throughout the conference other than that very first day. Another thing that's happening throughout the conference, except for that first Tuesday that the conference kicks off, the rest of the conference every single day will have a career fair that is hosted via Zoom. I think it's self-explanatory what a career fair is, but Jenny, do you want to touch on how that's going to work too?
Yeah, so it's a little bit different than we would normally do that. Normally our career fair is we invite our prospective employers to come in. They have a booth, and our members can wander into their booth, talk with them as they have time in between competition. Well, that's a little harder to do virtually. And so we instead set aside 4 hours, basically over the noon hour, where a prospective employer will have an hour kind of devoted to them. And you can come in, they can talk about their company, and then you can network with that person and that company, ask any questions you might have, pop in, they'll be there for that hour to answer any questions and to connect with them in that way. So it's a little bit different, but it's, I think, the best way that we can offer access to that. And we may, if we have enough participants, we may be able to have a couple of different employers in each call. We're still compiling who is going to be involved in each session, but like I said, the idea is to allow our members opportunities to connect with prospective employers, and really to do that in a live one-on-one way as best as possible when you're virtual.
Yeah, and maybe the silver lining of things being virtual is that the career fair, rather than the employers being from the locality wherever the state conference is being held that year, the business or the company that is at the career fair can be from wherever, really, when it is virtual like this.
Absolutely. They don't have the travel expense, and they don't have to take the time off of their normal schedule in the same way. It's an hour a day rather than the whole day that they would normally have to spend. So this really hopefully opens it up to more people being available to participate as employers in the events, and hopefully gives more opportunities for our members. And they are like 1 hour sessions, and they're right in between our morning competition block and our afternoon competition block.
Exactly. And yeah, and that's being done over the noon hour Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Monday of conference.
Yep, absolutely.
So like we've said, event competition throughout the day, each of those days as well, with the career fair, and then towards the end of the day on each kind of day of the calendar there is some workshops that our members will be able to attend. On Wednesday we have the resume and interview workshop. On Thursday we have the DECA Inc. workshop. And yeah, do you want to just briefly touch on what those 2 workshops are and why they might be beneficial to our participants or members in the conference?
Yeah, absolutely. So the resume and interview workshop is going to be hosted by one of our board members, John Kraut, and he's done this resume and interview workshop before for us. He is a great resource he works for OG Professional Services, so he's a great resource for being able to put your best foot forward in terms of getting hired. And so he will be offering that. Again, that session will be recorded and then will be available on demand on YouTube via a link. And then the workshop on Thursday is with Gage Donovan, our current International Collegiate DECA president, and one of our own. If you don't remember, Gage was one of our off-state officers last year. And so Gage will be with us to talk about leadership and just, you know, be engaged. Gage is a great guy. So so we are hoping that you'll join him for that also. And as I said, that will also will be recorded and then posted as a YouTube link.
And then the following, that's on Wednesday, the following, oh wait, no, that's Thursday. The interview and resume workshop is on Wednesday. Gage's workshop is the following Thursday, and both of those are held at 6 o'clock.
Yes, yes. And one thing I should mention too, with the career fair, which I failed to mention before, but we'll also list all of our participants with the career fair on our website, and there'll be links to their company websites too, so that you'll have access to that as well. And then one thing that'll be happening over the entirety of the conference, which is another way to kind of connect and participate, is we'll be doing a long form of DECA bingo. So basically every session that we post, other than the competition sessions, will basically like give a bingo number, and everybody will be issued, every participant will be issued a free bingo card. And at the end of the conference, if you get bingo, there will be small prizes like Caribou coffee cards, those kinds of things for those who get bingo. So there's an incentive to participate in some of these things, like the workshops. That's and right. That sort of thing.
That's right. All right. So that's an overview of each kind of day that first week before we get to the following Monday. And so then after regular competition and those workshops throughout the week, we get a break that weekend, and then the following Monday we come back, and that Monday there's obviously the daily briefing to start, and that's Monday the 22nd. And then that morning there is final event competition, and those events that have more participants than others do need another round of competition, and that's what will be happening that Monday morning. It'll be the same setup that we explained over Zoom and as well. And then there's a career fair that day, and then we'll wrap it up that night with the awards session. That's kind of the overview of that last day of the conference. Is there anything you want to touch on specifically from that last day that you feel like our listeners should know, Jenny?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are taking that break, and it might seem funny to take the break, but the reason that decision was made is we know a lot of our members work over the weekends. And so rather than disturb that work schedule in the same way, especially since a lot of our advisors are willing to sort of make DECA part of their classwork, that it's much easier to kind of finish up the conference sessions on Monday rather than expecting our students to take time out of what would normally probably be their work schedules for the weekend. And then that awards session, as we talked about, it will be released via YouTube, and it will be actually a YouTube premiere session. So we will be able to interact live with or watch it live together that way. So that will include the announcements of our new officers, our goodbyes from our current state officer group, which is crazy to me that we're almost there. And then obviously the announcement of our winners of our various competitive events. So some pretty big things, definitely worth tuning in to that session.
Without a doubt. Yeah, so that's kind of a recap of what the conference is and what each day kind of looks like. And I know that it's again, like everything else during COVID and this pandemic, it's not what we had planned for, and it's maybe not necessarily ideal, because I know I would rather see all of you in person at state conference, and I would have rather seen you throughout the year. But this is the hand we're dealt, and we're gonna be safe and everything like that, which is why we're holding it virtually. And I'm still really excited about it, and some of the things that we're going to get to provide to all of our members. And like we said, I like to think we're getting good at the virtual thing, because we're going on, well, almost, it will be basically a year now once it's all said and done after the state conference. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, you touched on, this is not how any of us sort of imagined this year would be. A year ago, this wasn't really even something we would have thought about. But I think that I've told you this before, but I think that your officer team has done a great job of making the best of the circumstances that we're given. And we are not alone in this. I can tell you, I have conversations with the other state association leaders, and they are in the same boat we are. Most, if not all really, but most of the state associations are planning virtual conferences this year. And the announcement was just made that DECA High School ICDC will be virtual. Nothing has changed about collegiate at this point. So that is still being planned for in person in Austin, Texas. Hopefully that's a thing we get to do. But I know that we are not alone in this boat in terms of being able to offer the best that we can in a virtual world.
Right, exactly. So if you're listening to this and you're intrigued and you still want to participate in our virtual state conference, and I encourage you all to, like we've said, we're really excited about some of the things we're going to do. And I think that the skills you're going to get by competing virtually are skills that you're still going to need throughout your lives. We didn't really touch on this, but Zoom, no matter how burdensome we might find it sometimes, isn't going away. You're going to have to present stuff virtually throughout your life probably. So this is still going to be beneficial, and it's a skill that you're going to need to move on with your career going forward, and moving on with your career, hopefully, once you get out of school.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, Zach, because that is something that we're hearing from both our industry partners and also our advisors, that this kind of interaction, one thing that's happened is that companies have realized how much they can do virtually that doesn't require the expense of travel, which is not to say that there's no value to in-person. I think we all understand the value to in-person interaction in a way that we probably didn't a year ago. But I think that this sort of interaction is something that going forward is going to be a skill that will serve you well as you step into your career and learn to lead in that area. So
yeah, so if you're in, you make sure your chapter advisor gets you and your chapter registered by February 2nd is when registration is due, and the registration fee per student is $70, right, Jenny?
Yes, correct. Yep, that is yes, $70.
Yeah, so that's kind of the state conference. Any final words of wisdom, Jenny, or any closing words from you?
The only couple things I would add is that, number one, highly recommend that even if you're thinking about it, even if it's just like a small little inkling in the back of your mind that maybe being a state officer would be a fun thing to do, please, please, please put your application in. You don't have to be, our state officers don't have to be like the most, you are good enough and special enough and amazing enough to be a state officer. So if you're thinking about it, please put that out there. It's a great learning opportunity. And I say this as someone who was a state officer when I was a student. It is a great learning opportunity. It connects you with a family of people that you don't normally maybe have the same access to. And it really is worth it. even if your experience is different. And I know that you guys have said that I know you've talked with Chet Morgan, who was our state president the year before, and his year and your year have been very different, but it doesn't mean that you've been asked to lead any less. And so I think that learning opportunity is well worth it. So if you are thinking about being a state officer, even if you have a small little inkling of a thought about it, I really encourage you to go to our website, click on the application at the state officer tab, and put that application in. Also, thank you for this year and bearing with us as we learn how to lead in a virtual world. I think that all of our members have done a great job of adjusting, and we've all had to do a lot of adjusting and a lot of pivoting in very real ways. And not only our leadership, but also our members. We've asked a lot of you guys, and so thank you for that. And I really hope that you guys, I hope that you're able to join us for the Career Development Conference. And because even if it's virtual, as we said, there's learning opportunities there, and there's still the opportunity to network and get great feedback from your judges, because you'll still get your feedback from your judges just like you normally would. So please join us and talk to your advisors about registering.
Yeah, I'll echo all of that, and then I will add just a little bit about running for state office or applying if it's something you have an inkling to do. Like Jenny said, I really encourage everyone to do it. The team at Minnesota Collegiate DECA really puts their officers in a position to succeed. So if it's something that you're maybe nervous or anxious about, being in that sort of leadership position, I can just say that I've never done anything that I felt like I wasn't prepared to do. But as a state officer, I haven't been not that I haven't broadened my horizons or done stuff that I feel like have made me a better student, a better leader, and things like that, but I've felt prepared to do so. And I think that that's a really important thing to mention. And plus the connections and the people that you make, and the people you get to know, really make it a worthwhile experience. So if you're thinking about doing it, please apply. If you have any questions, I know that any member of our state officer team would be willing to talk you through it, or talk to you about our experience as well.
Absolutely.
With that, we'll wrap this up. Don't forget, to those of you listening, that throughout our series of podcasts leading up to the state conference next month, the state officer team will continue to share their stories and the stories of others surrounding Minnesota Collegiate DECA. I'm Zach Spohn, and I'd like to thank Jenny for being my guest today, and I'd like to thank all of you for listening. We hope to see all of you appearing virtually at the state conference next month. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to tune in next time.